Deep in the Ethiopian desert, the Middle Awash team continued their recovery operation, and more fossils emerged from the little hill at Aramis.
Piece after piece we lifted out. We got the pelvis. It was broken to pieces, but we got a lot of it. We got the base of the cranium. We found the lower jaw. We found the ankle bone. We found foot bones. We found other leg bones. We found arm bones. We had a partial skeleton.
By the end of the 1994 field season, the team had found an amazing 90 fossil bones, teeth, and bone fragments in the little hill at Aramis. They all belonged to a single Ardipithecus individual. The scientist nicknamed it Artie, a creature who lived and died more than 1 million years before Lucy. Could these fossil remains, now safely wrapped in plaster jackets, answer the questions that Lucy could not? Could Ardipithecus help solve the riddle of where we humans come from and why we seem so different from other mammals? Imagine looking for a missing person in the vastness of Africa. A person dead for more than 4 million years and covered by tons of sediments, hundreds of meters deep. Imagine all that, and you begin to understand how hard it was to find a skeleton as old as Artie's. But the Middle Awash research team did just that when they discovered the fossil remains of Ardipithecus ramidus deep in the Ethiopian desert.
Hominids are incredibly rare. They were rare on the landscape. They have very long lifespans, so few of them die and end up with carcasses on the landscape. They're very smart, smarter than most mammals, so you don't find very many of them trapped in the sediments. So they're extremely rare.
It was sort of a surprise to us to find so many pieces of a single individual in this small area, because in the fossil record that usually doesn't happen.
These delicate fossil bones of Ardipithecus now become precious hard evidence. But evidence of what? After a long and exhausting field season, the team had excavated dozens of pieces of this new skeleton. But one crucial part of Artie still eluded them.
We wanted a face. We wanted to have the whole cranium together to see what this creature looked like.
Within days of returning to the excavation site for the next field season, they got their wish. The upper jaw, the side of the eye socket, the frontal bone above the eye socket, and the other side of the skull were all uncovered.
They were all in different pieces, all scattered around, all very crushed, all extremely fragile. If you liken it to a forensic case, it was a case where you would have to do a lot of work to put this all back together to get to the individual's face, and indeed that's what we proceeded to do.
Even as the search for more remains continued, one key question had yet to be fully answered by the project's geologists. Exactly how old were these fossils? This Artie skeleton was so ancient, its fossilized bones no longer contained any material useful for dating.
We don't really date the bones themselves, so we rely on geologists to give us dates for these rocks that are above and below the fossils that we're finding.
But not just any rocks would do. For millions of years, the fractured crust beneath Africa's Great Rift Valley has produced volcanoes. Ash layers and lava flows from more recent eruptions cover the rift floor today just as they covered the ancient landscapes long ago. The geologist can identify and trace each layer of ash through its own unique geochemical fingerprint. At Aramis, they got lucky. Instead of the fossils just lying near a single volcanic layer, they were actually sandwiched between two layers of ash.
It was a nice coincidence to have those two volcanic rocks bracketing that sedimentary sequence. And so I collected several samples from that area for dating.
Dr. Gede Wolde-Gabriel analyzes the Aramis samples at Los Alamos National Laboratory. First, he pulverizes and refines them. Next, he separates and extracts tiny crystals and shards of volcanic glass. This material contains trace amounts of argon gas produced by radioactive decay. The gas has gradually built up inside the rock ever since the eruption. Wolde-Gabriel now sends the processed samples to Dr. Paul Rennie at the Berkeley Geochronology Center.
Hey, Leah.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, these samples are ready.
Oh, from the middle awash?
Yeah, I just looked at them and they look great.
Rennie uses a laser to melt the ancient volcanic glass and crystal fragments. This releases the built-up argon gas. By measuring the amount of gas, Rennie can determine the sample's age. The more argon gas, the older the rock sample is. His results date the Aramis fossils more precisely than anyone expected.
We cannot tell the difference in age between the unit that's above the Ramidus fossils and the unit that's below. So in each case, we get an age of 4.4 million years, and those two results are analytically indistinguishable.